I went on my honeymoon and I read The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Let's talk about it. Before we can talk about the book, we need to talk about the honeymoon, which was amazing. I got married in Pakistan, and me and my wife went to Malaysia for a honeymoon, and we specifically, we went to Langkawi. Langkawi is this island in Malaysia, which is basically the Maldives, but cheaper. And we just wanted to have the time of our lives on a budget, basically. The vibes were just immaculate. Like, I'm talking turquoise waters, I'm talking jet skis and scuba diving tours and walks and just endless blue water. In Canada, all of this is a commodity. And of course, I decided to take some books with me to read. Now, I had my Kindle with me, which didn't really get much usage, but I was finishing up a book that I read. Right before I went to the honeymoon, I bought Stella Marie and The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy. Thank you, William Dozier, for those purchases. But I forgot that I had a Cormac McCarthy book with me in my library, so I just tossed it in my bag. And man, even skipping through this book right now, I'm getting nightmares. This was just a ride. And a honeymoon is supposed to be generally a happy time for a newlywed couple. Anyone who's ever read this book knows this is the opposite of everything I just described. And don't get me wrong, not once have I said that this was a bad read. It just was not the honeymoon read that I wanted. Let's get to the book. I tried to read this in a bunch of different times. The honeymoon itself was quite taxing and I got sick quite a lot.
Okay, so like an idiot, I have lost my voice because I drank some too many mocktails and I woke up with a sore throat and my voice completely gone. But
And every now and then I'd find some time to read. Either it was in the morning, while we were traveling. If I wasn't sleeping on the plane, then definitely while I was on the plane. Every now and then I'd knock off 10, 20, 15, 30 pages and it would feel like someone took my intestines, gut punched it a few times, and put it back in my body. Because every time I picked this book up, I could be on the sunniest of beaches, among the most turquoise of waters. Everything would instantly turn gray. The world that Cormac McCarthy created in The Road is completely encapsulating. It takes a grip on you. It's everything you see after a while. I think I forgot to mention this was my first Cormac McCarthy book, so I didn't know what I was getting myself into. There's only 2 characters in this book, and yet I felt like I was the third. I felt the cold, pungent air. I felt the gray snow on my back. I felt my feet wet and soggy, even though I was in one of the most warmest places in the world. I was with the love of my life, and at the same time, I was longing for her. This book made me long for my wife who was sitting next to me. Now, I didn't finish the book at the honeymoon. I just didn't have the time. But when I did, I would say about this last portion of the book, I finished in one go because I couldn't stop putting it down. I felt horrible. My soul was like Voldemort's cut in half. I just felt so cold all the time, especially coming back from such a warm honeymoon to Canada in February. I felt everything the characters were feeling. And it's not because of my environment, it's because of how amazing Mr. McCarthy wrote this book. It won the Pulitzer Prize, and I would give it everything, every award that I have, because I've never felt so encapsulated and so beaten down by a book. Would I ever read this again? Yes, but not soon after, not immediately, not tomorrow. I'd read this in the next 5 years, and maybe in the next decade. And would I recommend this for you? Yes, I would recommend this for you. This is a must-read if you have any interest in literature, if you have any interest in world building, if you have any interest in a simple story. The prose is immaculate. It's so easy to read. And you eventually get used to the lack of quotation marks because characters talk and there are no quotation marks, but it's a stylistic choice. And I believe McCarthy does this in all of his books. And it works. It makes you feel one. There is no grammatical mistakes because he doesn't care about it. The story does not warrant you to be precise with your literature. It's there, all of it, for you to encompass. Now, I don't know if The Road was the best book to read on my honeymoon, but I'm so glad I finished it. I'm so glad I was engulfed in the world of Mr. McCarthy. I highly recommend this book. And right after this, I'm going to pick up No Country for Old Men, which is also one of my favorite movies. I already have The Passenger and Stella Marie. I think I'm going to go deep into the world of Mr. McCarthy. I rate Cormac McCarthy's The Road 4.5 out of 5. And thank you to my wife for shooting all the B-roll. I really appreciate it. She didn't have to do it, but she did. She was nice enough to, on her honeymoon, work for me. So I appreciate it. Love you, babe.